4 weeks after the Labour Union embarked on a one-week nationwide warning strike over the non-implementation of the national minimum wage, it is threatening a fresh industrial action in the next 7 days. The organised union, which claims to have concluded negotiations with the federal government in September on a new minimum wage of 30,000 naira, is aggrieved over what it describes as a deliberate delay by the government to implement. But the governors, after a closed-door meeting with the economic management team at the State House, say otherwise.
We are willing to pay any amount, but the issue is capacity, the muscles to pay. So now, we discuss that government has some Labour sent some numbers, and eventually the committee has given some proposal, but the governors still, they haven't come up with any number.
Even though it remains unclear what the harmonized position would be, the governors and the Labour Minister have promised to scrutinize the issues comprehensively at an emergency meeting in the next 24 hours.
We are going to discuss with our governors and said, oh, look at what Labour is sending, look at the bill. The bill was directed by the Honourable Minister of Labour to be sent to the NGO Secretariat so that we can digest what is the bill is contained, and then discuss about it. Then we come up with our own position as governors, because we are partner on this. We're not a partner, we're critical on this subject of discussion.
The Labour Minister had earlier announced that the Tripartite Committee on Minimum Wage would conclude in October all processes concerning the new national minimum wage for workers in the country. It's only 7 days away from a fresh industrial action by the organised labour, and a firm position is still very uncertain. Nigerians are hoping that a peaceful and achievable resolution is taken before it degenerates into a full-blown strike. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Time to look at the minimum wage debate, and here in Lagos we have, for this conversation, a representative of organized labor, Mr. Joe Ajero. Thank you for joining us. Also here is a sustainable development expert, Bolaji Ogunseye. Thank you.
Good morning.
Mr. Ajero, let me start with you. Today, the governors are meeting to take a stand. Yesterday, they met with the federal government, and we hear that there was no agreement. Labor is still standing on the grounds that a figure was reached by the Tripartite Committee. Unanimous figure was agreed on. What's going on right now?
Well, I wouldn't know why the governors are meeting. They are meeting, by their meeting, they are spending more money of the tax from the taxpayers, because Mr. President inaugurated the Tripartite Committee by November 2017. And they had 1 year to meet. And at the Tripartite Committee, the governors were represented by 6 governors from 6 different states. And there was even a public hearing in the 6 geopolitical zones. Consultation was on. And at the end of the Tripartite Committee meeting and negotiation, a figure was agreed on, among other things. And the governors are now meeting over the figure. I think that is a medicine after that.
Okay. So, Ogunseye, this entire situation looks as if something is missing somewhere. Or don't you agree?
I agree. Well, I mean, sense of priority, sense of fairness, of justice. The first thing is, you ask yourself, why is it that Nigerian public office holders, elected, and some of the appointed ones, earn close to the top quartile of public service salaries globally, while the workers, ordinary civil servants, workers across sectors, earn close to the bottom globally? You have to ask yourself, is there some value addition from the high office holders, the politicians, that is so screamingly important to our livelihood? All the roads are nice, the education is great, that makes them entitled to be paid at the level more than American equivalent, more than Britain. And these are countries that are 1 trillion times richer than us, okay? So what is it that entitles our high office holders to be earning close to the global, top quartile, and entitles at the same time, or disentitles Mr. and Mrs. every worker in the system to earn so low, close to the global bottom. So that's a critical issue that is missing. It is because the accounting, the government and governance accounting in Nigeria is an upside-down business. We spend money heavily for all the wrong reasons, and we don't want to spend for all the right reasons. Okay, there's an economic case, for God's sake. There's an economic case for letting there be more money in the pockets and the hands of the millions of people who work in this country, rather than the tiny few, top people, back then with all this billion. There's an economic case. If you let people have far more money, double, for instance, what the workers take now, 18,000 minimum wage. If you let about 1 million of them, or 2 or 3, and then in the private sector, those who still have not done so. A lot of payers in the private sector pay more than 18,000 anyway. Even for domestic assistants, drivers, they're all in the 30s and 40s and everything. If you do that, you're going to leave a lot of purchasing power among the citizenry of Nigeria. That has a knock-on effect on demand and supply and employment in the wider economy. Why cannot our leaders see this? Okay? And then there's an audit issue. Please let somebody put me on this job. Some team, independent team, maybe with representative of the politicians and all the big people, should go around this country and do what I call a job structure versus compensation analysis and audit. And then you find that what the self-indulgences of the people at the top are sickening. Okay. They give themselves too much for nothing.
Okay, Mr. Ogunseye, we'll take a moment here. When we come back, continue the conversation. Please do not go away.